I'd like to strike the last word, and I'd
Oh,
like.
Okay, we'll do that. We moved on, but we'll do that, Ms. Miller, because you don't talk nearly as much as a lot of people on this committee. So, go, Ms. Miller.
Well, I'm sorry, Mr.
He may change his
Chairman,
mind.
but I am yielding my time to Mr. Arrington.
My name.
Will the gentleman yield? Will the gentleman yield?
You know, I would only speak because my name was invoked. My name was invoked, and my honor was questioned, my integrity, my character. Tom Suozzi would never question my integrity or character. He's too good of a friend, and I wouldn't question his. I have questioned the motive here as more political than principled, and I don't like to do that. But that's my judgment right now. I think it's too wrapped up in scoring political points, and we're whipping people up into a frenzy instead of working productively to solve some problems here. But I'm not, Tom, I'd have to look at those numbers. I have not looked at the numbers. But to suggest that the federal government had the same amount of employees in the 60s and 70s as we do in the 21st century, when we didn't even have the microwave oven, let alone the internet, is not that impressive of a stat, to be frank. I think we can probably run this government more efficiently post-technology revolution. We still need people, but we need them to show up. Like, I would have an easier time receiving some of this, really, with the sincere motive of needing more information, wanting more insight, if the same passion and concern were directed to the many government employees who were not showing up for years. And this was post-pandemic, and we just accepted it as the new normal. And when we talk about, like some of my colleagues, the Democrat colleagues, about my constituents are worth it, this is their benefit, their earned benefit, I agree. But why weren't we fighting to make sure that people were seats, butts were in seats, calls were being answered, cases were being resolved? The very fact, in every congressional office experiences, we had casework through the roof for our retirees who couldn't get their phone calls returned and couldn't get their cases resolved.
Will the gentleman yield?
But where was the indignation? Where was the fight for these constituents at that time?
Will the gentleman yield?
It's a sad thing in this country that we need retirees, our beloved seniors, to have to work through their member of Congress just to get a daggum phone call returned. So I would accept some of this is in a more sincere fashion if it was consistently applied when we had Democrat control and we had other big inefficiency problems. I trust the president. I trust people who have a track record of successfully and efficiently and effectively running organizations. I think this is long overdue. I think it should go across the government. I think we should get information and we should get insight and we should get the opportunity to change some of the things that are needed and codified by an act of Congress. Like, for example, in Medicaid, and I'll yield with the example of Medicaid, President Biden went back, revoked a policy that reviewed the Medicaid rolls twice a year so that we could ensure that only those legally eligible for Medicaid were receiving the benefit. That's a taxpayer safeguard. That's a safeguard for sustaining the program. And it was revoked from twice a year, and it was only done once a year. Well, that's $160 billion worth of waste and fraud because of a simple program integrity measure that was revoked. That's common sense. I don't think there's an American out there that would say, why in the world would we do that? So I appreciate some of the concern, but I think it is more political than principle, and I appreciate my colleagues, and I appreciate his
Mr.
friendship.
Chairman.
I yield back, Mr. Chairman.
I yield back my time.
Thank you, Ms. Miller. Any additional members wish to strike the last word? Are there any amendments? Seeing no amendments, I will now recognize Mr. Buchanan for the purpose of offering a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move the committee report HRES 195 adversely to the House of Representatives.
The question is on the motion to report HRES 195 adversely to the House of Representatives. The clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Buchanan.
Yes.
Mr. Buchanan, yes.